Why do you need promiscuity?
Because you need something of everything.
Why? Why do you need that?
There's people who want to stay single and just...
I know people want to, but why do you need it? When we're talking about... this is more of a conversation about duties and about what makes a healthy society rather than what we want, what our desires are. Why do you need promiscuity in a society?
We're already off to a great start here. The world needs more 304s. The world needs women to ride the carousel. Absolutely wild. Let's see where this goes.
Because you need something out of everything.
Why?
People are different.
Why do you need it?
Not everyone matches together.
I know, but just is there a reason why? Because I gave you my reason why we need family, because that makes a healthy society, healthy communities.
Yeah.
We need to maintain our birth rate. We need to proliferate as a species. Why do we need promiscuity?
Because we're human, and we've been doing this since the beginning of time, and it would be bad if that would not be a thing anymore.
Do you think it would be bad if people got together young and they pair bonded and they had kids and families and they weren't sleeping around and there were no STDs and there were no abortions and there were no single mothers and criminals coming from single mother households and people on welfare? Do you think that it would be bad if those things were taken away?
It's two extremes. I do think you need like a healthy mix of the both of them.
Well, we are way off at one end of the extremes, and let me tell you, most people aren't getting married at 20. I mean, the best and really the only argument they have for this is it is kind of ridiculous to expect people to just make an exceptional commitment right out of the gate these days, but that's also because it has become very hard for people to participate in the economy. Like, you know, your average 18-year-old is not equipped to buy a house and start a family. They don't have the work experience. Really, we're getting to a point where it's very hard to make $100,000 a year or more without a college degree. And then even if you get a college degree, you could be an idiot and you get a degree in a field that's not profitable at all. That's a lot of people these days, unfortunately, but that really doesn't make a case for promiscuity in and of itself being a good thing. I mean, it sort of explains why it happens, and, you know, if you were looking for a partner, it is very hard. Very few people are positioned in such a way that they can just, you know, wait until they're 30 pretty much for marriage. But these ladies at the table here don't even give that as a reason, of course, because most of the people who say promiscuity is a good thing are doing it because they're hedonistic.
To make things work.
Yeah, it's just funny because you can't really give a reason why, though, because you're just saying we need it because we need it without much of a reason.
Yeah, because people are different. If everyone was the same and wanted the same thing, that would not really be a good thing.
But yeah, I think you're more talking about what we want. So people want to have lots of sex, and there are people that want to have lots of sex, and I think most men out there want to have a lot of sex. But what we want and what we need are two different things. We need a stable society in order to move forward, in order to have future generations.
We also need people who think and act differently.
I would say that it's good if everyone is... There are many different aspects of life. For example, people's creativity. We need creative people, and we need more orderly people, more structured people. That is a positive way that we can have diversity in the world. But in terms of this, it's very easy to see the fruits of a society that is very promiscuous, when they have very low birth rates and when they have high rates of disease and single mothers and
that's not
the products
always
of
the
single
case.
mothers.
These are extremes, what you're saying right now.
But this happens.
She's going, these are extremes, these are extremes. Like, no, you just don't want to answer for the fact that people aren't going to be promiscuous in responsible ways. It's like definitionally kind of irresponsible behavior. So sad that there are so many women out there just like this who do not want to accept that their actions have consequences.
And your fantasies can't ever be quenched, can they? You freaking freaks! When will you learn? When will you learn that your actions have consequences?
This happens. It happens right here in America. You look at the African American community, for example. 75% of kids are born out of wedlock and are in single mother households. And then if you look at the statistics of kids who go to single mother households, they're 20 times more likely to end up being criminals, much more likely to end up being on drugs because they don't have a father in the home. This is all borne out by statistics. So
I
this
can't
is why
talk
we
about this side of the world. I don't know how
What if
things
I-
are being
what if I-
planned here, but
what if
I
I
think in Europe I can say that this works pretty well for us. So,
What
and I
does?
can't see it.
A lot of Europeans have very liberal attitudes on a lot of social issues because they have these vast social safety nets, which just kind of insulate them from the real world. And at least until very recently, their societies were very homogenous, so it made sense to a lot of them that people could just go around behaving this way, you know?
Like,
What works well?
if you want to say it like vulgarly, is the promiscuous.
It works
thing.
well in Europe.
Yeah, it's super. It's actually really nice because it makes dating so much easier. Everyone's more relaxed, open-minded.
Yeah.
Wait,
less
it makes it
drama.
easier?
Yeah.
There's a lot of cultural decadence in Europe for sure. You guys have a birth rate in countries like Holland that's falling off a cliff. You guys are going to be replaced because you're not pair bonding over there.
Probably, but times are changing. There's nothing
No, actually,
bad
times
about
are changing. It's going in a really bad direction. Like the native population of Holland in 100, 200 years will be replaced by Muslims.
You become a conservative when you realize that lifestyles like these are just unsustainable. Like the birth rate for Holland is 1.62. Like when you look at large scale issues, it just becomes obvious that people should not be behaving this way. And it's not conducive, not only in people's personal lives to living a happy life, but then also to building a healthy nation.
And why is that a problem?
Well, don't you have any national identity? Don't you have any pride in who you guys are?
Well, I can only speak for myself, and I think that a lot of countries change, a lot of cultures change. So
wouldn't you-
if it happens because of certain things that we do, then it happens.
So you'd
and-
be happy for Dutch people to just fade out of existence?
No, of course not.
But what if it happened though?
What if the Dutch people disappeared? I would
Yeah.
be very sad.
Well,
She can't even take the issue seriously. Amazing.
it kind of contradicts a little bit what you said before. Let me ask you a question related
It
to what
won't be
Jake
in
is
my
saying.
lifetime.
Do you think so? Like Japan is, although this might be changing, Japan is a country that's pretty well known for
Homogeneity?
Yeah, homogeneity, and they don't want a lot of immigration, I believe. Although maybe it's
Well,
changing a little bit.
it's changing a little bit because their birth rates are so low. It's actually below 1 now.
But
these places.
I guess my question for you is, would you think that there is anything wrong if Japanese people wanted Japan to remain Japanese? Like me and Jake, we could move to Japan. We can never become Japanese, right?
Yeah.
But do you think there's anything wrong with a country saying, hey, we want our country to remain our, is it race or ethnicity, or I don't know the specific terminology. Me personally, I can't actually think of any argument that in terms of objecting to Japan wishing to stay Japanese.
Sure.
Do you think that's wrong though?
No, I honestly do not care about it.
Really speaks to the complete failure of the Dutch education system and really Western education generally, that they were not able to instill in this woman any sort of like drive for preservation of country or any awareness of how certain lifestyles are just not self-replicating.
I don't have a say in it, so it is what it is.
LOL Paladins donated $200.02. Jake, you can't force a love of nation onto a women. Women have a biological imperative to breed with stronger men. European men are weak cooks. She would enjoy being forced to wear the burqa.
I think that a lot of European men are weak. I think that's very true.
And that's the thing. It's so wild because I think if you would ask Europeans, they would say the same thing about you. And I think it's really bad. I think there has to be some type of understanding, but it's so far apart. I don't think we'll ever. Really
I think that if you
other.
want to have a coherent worldview about that, and when you want to think about the bigger picture and what's best, you have to be able to explain why you think what you think, and why it's okay, and why it's okay to just go with what we want and what we desire and what makes us feel nice all the time. Do you know what I mean? And I think that
I don't explain it right.
No, I think you don't. You just don't really know why you believe that. I think it just feels nice. That's basically what you say.
This is what happens. This is what fills the void when people lack identity. Why do you think Taylor Swift is so popular? Like it just gets filled with consumerism and hedonism instead. People have got to identify with something, so they'll just identify with consumption and pleasure seeking instead of something more robust and grounded.
Feels good.
It doesn't feel good. We need to mix. You can't have one without the other.
Why not,
that's
though?
my
You
reason.
haven't made a
Because it doesn't work.
What doesn't work?
What doesn't work? Do you think that society didn't function well when people were creating families and getting
Yeah, and there will
married
be
young?
people creating families, but there will also be single people that look for other single people.
But you're saying that it won't work. You have to justify that claim. Why won't it work?
I don't know how else to explain it than that there has to be a mix.
Wait, a mix of what?
Promiscuity and like family structure.
Yeah, different people with different views.
Oh, I thought you meant mix in terms of culture.
No. That's
Groups of people.
No. That's shit. Well, we got to that because I said that their birth rate is falling off a cliff
Right.
with the native Dutch people, and they're actually going to get replaced in a few hundred years, and your country will be Muslim eventually. And she was like, "Oh, I don't really see the problem with that," and that's where you came in with Japan.
Okay.
But that was a kind of meta conversation. But
In history, only those people who were productive and organized enough to form a state could come under our notice today. Life is an arena for the discharge of duties, and people are born into this world with ethical and social obligations to one another. History is a scene of conflict, violence, and war, and not a theater of happiness. Any unserious people who forget this truth will surely fade out of existence, as it seems the Dutch people will very soon. I mean, hopefully I'm mistaken. You know, the Netherlands does have a reputation as being a very liberal country. Although maybe if you live there and you think this woman's opinions are not representative of the average there, then go ahead and tell me. But things are as bad in Europe, or at least Western Europe and Central Europe, as they are here in America, if not worse in some ways. So,
yeah, I just don't really like. This is a very new thing. All of this cultural decadence that we're experiencing in the West at the moment, where people are just very liberal about it. Oh, we can do what we want. We can just have all of this sex, and we can not pair bond. And we're seeing the fruits of that, and it's not good. When it's not good at all. The birth rates are literally falling off a cliff, and that's a big problem. And women are getting older and older, and they're not marrying, and they're becoming depressed about it. Like in America, and I think throughout the Western world as well, the amount of antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications that women are taking is obscene. And
But that doesn't have to do anything.
it actually
with being
does, because you
promiscuous or
can
not.
correlate it. You can correlate women who are single and childless in their 40s with antidepressants.
What's the rate for men?
Much lower than women.
What
Yeah.
are the statistics?
I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'm sure we could look it up. Yeah. But, I mean, I think that generally speaking, a man can go his whole life just focusing on a career and be reasonably satisfied. It's not optimal, obviously, but if a woman does that, I think that it's a recipe for a disaster. Just the way that we're biologically wired. Only 40% of men that have ever lived have reproduced.
in this conversation, I'm just really struck by like how short-sighted their worldview and attitude is. Like, it's not even really that people enjoy this overall. They enjoy it for the moment. They enjoy the attention. I think a lot of women enjoy having those options, which is kind of why they really don't want to let go of this, because of the whole hoflation thing. Like, you know, if you were to say, okay, well, the value of your sexuality is going to be increased exponentially, you would kind of have to be a fool to say no to that. But then having as many options as they do, and then living these lifestyles, you know, ultimately overall, you know, not only does it hurt society, but then it leaves them unhappy. All right, you can't actually do fulfilling things like starting a family if you're, you know, busy partying it up and talking to a bunch of different people and being promiscuous, etc., etc. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a like, share it, leave a comment, and Red Channels will catch you in the next one.